This is the Hulton Bridge in 1962, one of the most beautiful structures Allegheny County ever built. Parker Pratt through truss, 1,660 feet of American steel and engineering pride, connecting Oakmont to Harmarville across the Allegheny River. Look at the rivets, each one hammered by hand, still holding tight after 50 years. Look at the ironwork, the graceful arc of the trusses, the way they frame the sky like cathedral windows made of steel. The way sunlight filters through the latticed beams at dawn, casting geometric shadows across the water. The way the whole structure hums softly when heavy trucks cross, a low metallic note that vibrates through the air. This wasn't just infrastructure. This was a statement, a declaration that America could build things meant to last forever. In less than 50 years from this photograph, they'll tear it to the ground. No one will stop them. But first, let me take you back to when this bridge wasn't just steel and concrete. It was a promise. A promise that we would build things worth preserving, worth honoring, worth passing down to our children and our children's children. September 1908. Oakmont is growing fast, the eastern Pittsburgh suburbs expanding as factories multiply and jobs bring families from across the country and across the ocean. The Allegheny River is no longer a natural boundary. It's an obstacle, a barrier keeping people from work, from school, from each other, from the future they're trying to build. The ferries are slow, unreliable, sometimes dangerous when winter ice jams the river and freezing fog makes navigation impossible. People have died waiting for ferries that never came, swept away by spring floods or trapped by ice in January. Allegheny County knows what needs to happen. They commissioned the American Bridge Company of New York, one of the finest engineering firms in the nation, to design something permanent, something that will last generations, something worthy of Pittsburgh's industrial might and America's boundless ambition. The cost, $306,000, a staggering sum in 1908, equivalent to over $9 million today. But this is an investment in the future, in progress, in the unshakable belief that America builds things to endure, that our grandchildren will cross this bridge and know we built it for them, that we cared enough to do it right. Construction begins in the fall of 1908, and you can hear it from miles away. The clanging of hammers on steel echoes across the valley, a metallic symphony that never stops, day or night, rain or shine. The hiss of rivets being driven white-hot into place, glowing orange like tiny suns, then cooling to black as they lock the beams together forever. The sharp crack as pneumatic hammers force them home, the sound like gunfire rolling across the water. The shouts of foremen coordinating crews high above the river, where one mistake means death, where the wind never stops and the cold seeps into your bones. Over 200 men work on this bridge: ironworkers, riveters, engineers, carpenters, laborers. Many of them are immigrants fresh off the boat: Irish, Italian, Polish, Slovak, men who came to America with nothing and are building its future one beam at a time. They work through freezing rain that turns the steel slippery and treacherous, where one wrong step sends you 60 feet down to the river. They work through snow that piles on the catwalks and makes every step a gamble with gravity and luck. They work through blistering summer heat that makes the metal too hot to touch with bare hands, where dehydration and exhaustion kill as surely as falling. The river doesn't care, the schedule doesn't care, and the bridge rises anyway. Slowly, inevitably, beautifully. Beam by beam, rivet by rivet, sweat by sweat, blood by blood. It's dangerous work, the kind that kills men regularly and makes widows out of young wives. Fall from a scaffold 60 feet above the river, and the impact with the water is like hitting concrete. Your bones shatter, your lungs rupture, and you sink before anyone can reach you. Get caught between shifting beams when the crane operator misjudges the swing, and you're crushed before anyone can scream a warning. Touch the wrong rivet while it's still glowing orange from the forge, and the scar stays with you forever. a permanent reminder of the price of carelessness. Some men fall, some men die. Their names are recorded in company ledgers but forgotten by history, buried in unmarked graves or shipped home in pine boxes to families who depended on their wages. The work doesn't stop for funerals, but the bridge rises. By November 1909, it's complete, a monument to American engineering and to the men who bled for it, who gave their strength and sometimes their lives to connect two communities. The dedication ceremony draws thousands, families from Oakmont and Harmarville, officials from Pittsburgh, journalists from across Pennsylvania. Flags wave, bands play, children perch on their fathers' shoulders to see history being made. This is what America does. Families line both sides of the river, waving American flags, cheering as the first automobile crosses slowly, carefully, testing the weight of this brand new span. The driver, a local businessman chosen for the honor, steps out on the Harmarville side, turns back toward Oakmont, and just looks. The bridge holds. Allegheny County has done it. They've connected two communities, two economies, two futures that will now grow together instead of apart. They've built something that will outlast everyone standing here today, everyone cheering, everyone waving flags in the crisp November air and believing in progress. Children run across, their footsteps ringing on the steel deck, laughing, feeling the structure hum beneath their feet like something alive, like something magic. Parents walk hand in hand, marveling at the engineering, at the sheer audacity of throwing 1,600 feet of steel across a river and expecting it to stand forever. Old-timers who remember when the only way across was by ferry shake their heads in wonder, unable to believe this massive thing is real, is theirs, is here to stay. This is progress. This is what America does. This is the pride of Oakmont, the pride of Pittsburgh, the pride of a nation that believes it can build anything and make it last forever. The Jonathan Hulton Bridge, named after an early settler who never imagined such a thing was possible, has just become part of history. And for over a century, it will serve its purpose faithfully, connecting people, carrying life, witnessing everything. The bridge becomes a lifeline immediately, woven into the fabric of daily existence so thoroughly that people stop thinking about it. Farmers from the Harmarville side use it to bring produce to Oakmont markets every morning before dawn, wagons loaded with corn, tomatoes, apples, eggs, whatever the season offers. Factory workers cross it in steady streams, lunch pails swinging, heading to the mills that line the river and fill the air with smoke and the smell of molten steel and honest work. On Sundays, families walk across dressed in their best clothes, visiting relatives on the other side, the women carrying pies still warm from the oven, the children skipping ahead, the men talking quietly about weather and crops and jobs. Teenagers meet in the middle, leaning over the railing, watching the river flow beneath them, talking about dreams, about leaving, about staying, about futures they can barely imagine. The bridge becomes more than a crossing. It becomes a landmark, a meeting place, a stage for proposals and goodbyes and reunions. Young men propose marriage there, on bended knee, with the river flowing beneath and the steel arching above like a blessing. Soldiers heading off to war kiss their sweethearts there one last time, holding on to that moment, that place, that feeling of home. Families take photographs there. On special occasions, standing in the middle with Oakmont behind them and Harmarville ahead, framed by steel and sky. The bridge becomes woven into the fabric of daily life so thoroughly that people stop thinking about it. It's just there, solid, dependable, permanent. It's not just steel and rivets anymore. It's memory, routine, the background of 1,000 lives, the thread connecting yesterday to tomorrow. The 1920s arrive, and the bridge is already aging gracefully, settling into its role like an old friend. The paint is starting to fade and peel in places, exposing patches of rust that maintenance crews scrape off and repaint every few years, a never-ending cycle of preservation. But the structure beneath is still solid, still strong, still carrying more weight than it was ever designed for as the world changes around it. Model T Fords rattle across it now, replacing the horse-drawn wagons and carriages of a decade earlier, their engines chugging, their drivers marveling at the speed and freedom of motorized travel. The world is changing. Prohibition brings bootleggers who use the bridge at night, smuggling Canadian whiskey across the river under cover of darkness, headlights off, engines barely idling, hearts pounding with the thrill and terror of breaking the law. The steel doesn't judge, it just holds. In winter, ice forms on the trusses, thick and glittering in the weak sunlight, beautiful and dangerous, transforming the bridge into a crystalline sculpture that sparkles like diamonds. In summer, the metal expands in the heat, creaking softly, groaning, breathing like something alive, the joints shifting microscopically to accommodate the changing temperature. Workers walking home at dusk sometimes stop in the middle just to watch the sunset paint the sky orange and purple and gold, the river catching the light and throwing it back like liquid fire. The bridge endures. Through seasons, through change, through everything, it endures. It becomes less of a structure and more of a presence, something constant in a world that won't stop moving. Then the Great Depression hits, and everything changes overnight. Jobs vanish as factories close and mills go silent, their furnaces cooling, their workers sent home with empty pockets and emptier promises. Families struggle, scraping by on nothing, pride the only thing keeping them from collapse, from giving up, from admitting defeat. But the bridge remains free to cross, a small mercy in a world gone cruel, a reminder that some things still work even when everything else is falling apart. Men walk across it every day looking for work that doesn't exist, shoulders slumped, eyes hollow, hope draining a little more with each futile crossing. Women carry baskets of laundry back and forth, taking in washing from wealthier families on the other side just to put food on the table for their children, just to keep going one more day. The bridge witnesses poverty, resilience, quiet desperation, the slow, grinding weight of economic catastrophe on ordinary people who never did anything to deserve it. In 1933, a man stands at the center in the middle of the night, looking down at the dark water 60 feet below, deciding whether to jump, whether this is how his story ends, whether anyone will even notice he's gone. A stranger walking past sees him, stops, doesn't say much, just something simple. "Not today, friend, not today." The man steps back from the railing, nods once, and walks away. The bridge saves a life that day without saying a word, just by being there, just by being solid when everything else is collapsing. That story spreads quietly through Oakmont, and for a while people look at the bridge differently, not just as a crossing, but as a guardian, a silent witness that keeps watch. The bridge holds. World War II comes, and young men from Oakmont and Harmarville cross the bridge for the last time, heading to enlistment offices in Pittsburgh, scared but determined, carrying nothing but duffel bags and the weight of responsibility. Some of them never come back. Their mothers stand on the bridge afterward, staring east toward Europe, toward the Pacific, toward sons who will never walk home again, never cross this bridge again, never grow old in the towns they loved. In 1945, when the war finally ends, people flood the bridge in celebration, honking horns, waving flags, crying with relief and exhaustion and grief for those who didn't make it, for the boys who left and the ghosts who didn't return. The steel absorbs their joy, their sorrow, their survival, every emotion soaking into the metal like rain into earth. The bridge has seen everything now: birth, death, love, loss, war, peace, the full spectrum of human experience played out on its deck. It's more than infrastructure. It's a witness to history, silent and strong, remembering everything even when people forget. The post-war years bring prosperity, new cars, suburban sprawl, a flood of families. escaping the city for cleaner air and bigger yards, and the promise of the American dream. Oakmont is no longer a small town. It's a bedroom community for Pittsburgh, and traffic across the bridge increases every year as more people discover the suburbs. Chevrolets, Fords, Buicks, Cadillacs, newer, bigger, heavier cars stream across in endless procession, testing the limits of what the bridge was designed to carry. The bridge holds. It always holds. Even when it wasn't built for this much weight, this much volume, this much constant use, it holds. By the 1970s, the bridge is showing its age, not structurally, but functionally. The Parker Pratt Truss is still as strong as the day it was built, still carrying weight it was never designed to handle, still doing its job with quiet dignity. But it's narrow, only 2 lanes, no shoulders, barely wide enough for modern cars to pass each other safely without slowing down, without holding their breath. During rush hour, traffic backs up on both sides, cars idling, drivers fuming, late for work, late for home, cursing the bottleneck that this beautiful bridge has become. In 1975, the county closes the bridge for 7 months for serious repairs. Structural work, deck replacement, painting, modernization where possible. Commuters are furious. The detour adds 20 minutes to their daily drive, and local businesses suffer as customers avoid the area entirely rather than deal with the inconvenience. But when the work is done, engineers inspect it and are genuinely impressed. This thing was built to last. The rivets are still tight after 66 years, the steel still strong, the foundation still solid. With proper maintenance, it could stand another 100 years easily, maybe 200 if anyone cared enough to preserve it. But America in 1975 doesn't think in centuries anymore. It thinks in convenience, in traffic flow, in solving the immediate problem that needs solving right now. Politicians start talking about replacement, about building something modern, something efficient, something better suited to current demands. They talk about the bridge in the past tense, as if it's already gone, as if its days are numbered, and there's nothing anyone can do about it. The late 1980s. Traffic congestion on the Hulton Bridge is chronic, frustrating, a daily source of complaints that flood county offices and dominate town hall meetings. Every morning, every evening, cars line up, idling, burning gas, wasting time, drivers gripping steering wheels and cursing the bottleneck that this once proud bridge has become. Allegheny County officials commission study after study, hiring consultants, reviewing options, crunching numbers, looking for solutions that satisfy everyone and cost the least. The conclusion is always the same. The bridge is structurally sound, but it's outdated for modern traffic demands, for the volume of cars that need to cross every day. The solution they propose: replace it entirely. Tear down the old bridge and build a new one, wider, smoother, more efficient, more suited to the 21st century that's rapidly approaching. Preservationists push back immediately, loudly, passionately. This is the first major bridge ever designed by Allegheny County, they argue. It's a piece of engineering history, a landmark, something worth saving, something that represents an era when we built things to last. Save it, they plead. Restore it. Widen it if you must, but don't destroy it. Turn it into a pedestrian bridge, a historical monument, something that honors what it represents and the men who built it. The county listens politely to their presentations, nods thoughtfully, takes notes, promises to consider all options, then ignores them completely. In 1988, in a bizarre political move that baffles everyone, the Pennsylvania legislature votes to rename the bridge the Joseph F. Bonetto Bridge, after a local politician most people have never heard of, and fewer still remember. In January 1989, PennDOT installs official plaques with the new name on both ends of the bridge, heavy metal signs bolted into the stone. Within 3 days, the plaques are stolen, ripped off in the night by vandals or protesters or just locals who refuse to let go of the name they've known for 80 years, the name that means something, that connects them to their history. No one admits to it, no one is caught, and PennDOT quietly gives up on enforcement. The stolen plaques become a local legend, a small act of rebellion that people whisper about with quiet satisfaction. Larger plaques bearing the name Hulton Bridge are installed instead, and they stay put. The bridge wins that small battle, that tiny victory in a war it's already losing. But it won't win the war. The decision has already been made at levels far above public input, in meetings where preservationists aren't invited, and history doesn't matter as much as efficiency and cost and political convenience. In downright September 2013, construction officially begins on the new Hulton Bridge, just downstream from the old one, close enough to see, close enough to watch your replacement taking shape. The contract goes to Bremen Construction out of Clinton for $65 million and a 2-year timeline. The budget, $65 million, more than 200 times what the original cost, adjusted for inflation, and yet somehow it will never be as beautiful, as meaningful, as loved. The timeline, 2 years. The new bridge will be everything the old one isn't: wide, smooth, modern, efficient, built for the traffic demands of the 21st century, with lanes for cars and shoulders for emergencies and guardrails that meet current safety standards. It will solve the congestion problem once and for all, moving cars faster, safer, more efficiently than the old bridge ever could. It will also be completely forgettable, a utilitarian slab of concrete and steel that no one will ever love the way they loved the original, that no one will photograph, that no one will remember. For 2 years, the old bridge and the new bridge exist side by side, separated by just a few hundred feet of river. Past and future, memory and utility, beauty and function, standing together like generations that don't quite understand each other. The old bridge stands silent, still carrying traffic, still doing its job with the same quiet dignity it always had, watching its replacement take shape, beam by beam, knowing what's coming. Workers on the new bridge sometimes pause and look over at the old one, at the elegant trusses, the hand-driven rivets, the craftsmanship that doesn't exist anymore in an age of prefabricated components and computer-aided design. Then they go back to work, building the future, destroying the past. On October 21, 2015, the new bridge opens to traffic with minimal ceremony. No celebration, just a quiet ribbon cutting that few people attend. Cars stream across it immediately, smooth and fast, barely noticing the transition from old to new, from history to convenience. The old Hulton Bridge is closed that same day, its purpose fulfilled, its service no longer needed. Barriers go up on both ends, orange and white, blocking access, declaring the bridge off limits after 106 years of welcoming everyone. Caution tape flutters in the October wind, yellow plastic ribbons snapping and crackling, marking the boundary between past and future. For the first time in 106 years, the bridge is silent. No footsteps, no engines, no voices, no life. It stands empty, rusting slowly in the weather, paint peeling, steel darkening, waiting for whatever comes next, for whatever mercy or cruelty the county decides to show. Preservationists make one final desperate push, organizing petitions, holding rallies, writing letters to every official who might listen. Move the bridge, repurpose it as a pedestrian walkway, turn it into a historical landmark, a museum piece, something that honors its legacy, and the people who built it and used it and loved it. Allegheny County considers the proposal seriously this time, studies the feasibility, runs the numbers, consults engineers about whether moving a 1,660-foot steel truss bridge is even possible, then rejects it. Too expensive, too complicated, too much work for a bridge that's already been replaced, that no longer serves a purpose, that belongs to the past. It's easier to destroy it than to preserve it, easier to blow it up than to honor it, easier to erase history than to learn from it. The decision is final. The bridge will be demolished, cut apart, removed, erased from the landscape as if 106 years of service meant nothing, as if beauty and history and craftsmanship are less important than convenience and efficiency, and moving on. Demolition crews move in with their equipment, their plans, their explosives. They place over 500 charges along the trusses, the support beams, the joints, small, precise charges designed to bring the bridge down cleanly into the river, where it can be cut apart and hauled away piece by piece. The date is set, January 26, 2016, at 9:48 a.m. Notices go out to residents, to businesses, to anyone who might care that a piece of history is about to disappear forever. Roads are closed for safety in a half-mile radius. Spectators begin gathering on both sides of the river hours before the scheduled time, some with cameras ready to capture history being erased, others just standing quietly, paying their respects to something that was part of their lives for as long as they can remember. Among them are people who crossed this bridge as children, who walked it holding their parents' hands, who drove it to their first job, their first date, their wedding, who raised their own children in its shadow. They know every rivet, every creak of the steel in winter, every shadow it cast on the water at sunset, every sound it made when trucks crossed in the rain. A loudspeaker begins the countdown, cold and impersonal, 10, 9, 8. The bridge stands in silence, waiting for the end it never asked for, never deserved, never imagined would come like this. 7, 6, 5. The charges detonate, not all at once, but in a carefully timed sequence designed by engineers who understand physics better than they understand history. One section after another, boom, boom, boom. The sound echoes across the river like gunfire, sharp and violent, each explosion a crack that splits the cold January air and makes the spectators flinch. For a moment, nothing happens. Then the trusses buckle. The steel twists, groaning deep and low, a sound like grief, like something alive, understanding that it's dying. The bridge doesn't collapse. It folds slowly, almost gracefully, as if bowing one last time before it goes, as if saying goodbye to the towns it connected, the people it served, the century of life it witnessed. The center drops first, pulling the rest with it in a cascade of inevitable destruction, and the sound is immense, a deep roaring groan of metal giving way, of rivets snapping after 107 years of holding tight through heat and cold and stress and time. It falls into the Allegheny River in a massive cloud of dust and spray, the impact sending waves rolling outward in perfect circles, water mixing with debris and rust and the pulverized remains of something beautiful. 10 seconds, that's all it takes. 10 seconds to destroy what took a year to build, what stood for 107 years, what witnessed more life and death and joy and sorrow than any monument or museum ever could. 107 years of history, of memory, of life, reduced to twisted steel and silence in 10 seconds flat. The crowd is quiet now, stunned into silence by the finality of what they just witnessed. Some people clap hesitantly, a few cheer half-heartedly, but most just stare at the empty space where the bridge used to be, trying to process the absence. What they're looking at isn't progress, it's absence. The space where the bridge stood is wrong now, empty, like a missing tooth, like something vital has been cut out and nothing has grown back to fill it, and maybe nothing ever will. The skyline looks naked without those familiar trusses, that distinctive silhouette that defined the horizon for over a century. The new bridge stands beside the wreckage, clean and modern and utterly soulless, serving its function with mechanical efficiency and zero personality. It will never be loved the way the Hulton Bridge was loved. It will never be photographed for its beauty, never become part of people's identity, never witness proposals or goodbyes or the small intimate moments that make life meaningful. It will never be remembered, never mourned, never missed when it's eventually replaced by something even more efficient, even more forgettable. It's just infrastructure, nothing more, a problem solved, a bottleneck eliminated, a flowchart optimized. In the weeks that follow, crews moves. In with barges and cranes to remove the wreckage from the river, working methodically, efficiently, erasing the evidence. The steel is cut into manageable pieces with torches that burn white-hot, hauled away section by section, loaded onto trucks destined for scrap yards and recycling centers. Some of it will be melted down and reused, recycled into something new that has no memory of what it used to be, no connection to the hands that shaped it or the lives it touched. Some of it will end up in a landfill, buried and forgotten beneath layers of garbage and time. None of it will be preserved. There are no plaques installed at the site, no memorials erected, no markers to say. Here stood the Jonathan Hulton Bridge, 1909 to 2016, a monument to American engineering and the belief that we could build things to last forever. The county moves on quickly, efficiently, checking boxes, closing files, marking the project complete. Traffic flows smoothly across the new bridge at rush hour, moving faster than it ever did before, exactly as promised, exactly as planned. The congestion problem is solved, commutes are shorter. Nobody complains about bottlenecks anymore. Mission accomplished, but the people who remember don't move on, can't move on, won't move on. They drive across the new bridge and feel the absence every time, a hollow ache where something solid used to be, a sense that something irreplaceable has been lost and can never be recovered. They look at the empty space and see ghosts, children running across on a summer afternoon, workers trudging home in the rain, lovers meeting in the middle under the stars, soldiers kissing sweethearts goodbye, a man stepping back from the edge because a stranger said, "Not today." The new bridge is efficient, functional, practical, everything a modern bridge should be. The old bridge was alive, and now it's gone. Not because it had to be, not because it was unsafe, not because it couldn't have been saved with effort and money and political will. It's gone because it was easier to destroy it than to care, easier to blow it up than to preserve it, easier to build something new than to honor what we already had, what previous generations built for us, what we inherited and failed to protect. That's the story of the Hulton Bridge, and it's the story of so much of what we've lost in America without even noticing until it was too late. A monument to American engineering built to last centuries, destroyed in seconds because it was inconvenient, because it slowed traffic, because efficiency mattered more than beauty and history and meaning. The question isn't whether we could have saved it. We could have, easily, with a fraction of the money spent on the replacement. The question is, why didn't we? What does it say about us as a society that we build things meant to last forever, then blow them up the moment they get in our way, the moment they become slightly inconvenient, the moment preserving them requires effort? What does it say about our values, our priorities, our relationship with our own history and the people who came before us? The Hulton Bridge deserved better. Maybe we did too. Maybe we all deserve to live in a country that values its past enough to preserve it, that understands that some things are worth more than their immediate utility, that beauty and history and craftsmanship matter just as much as traffic flow and convenience. But we don't live in that country anymore, if we ever did. We live in a country that tears down the Hulton Bridge and calls it progress. Look at the river now. The water flows the same as it always did, indifferent to human constructions and human decisions, moving from the mountains to the sea the way it has for millions of years and will for millions more. But something's missing from the landscape, from the skyline, from the collective memory of everyone who knew that bridge. You can feel it, that absence, that hollow space where something meaningful used to be. The bridge is gone, and with it, a piece of what made Oakmont, Oakmont. A piece of what made Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh. A piece of what made America, America. The belief that we build things that last, that we honor the work of previous generations, that we preserve beauty and history and craftsmanship instead of discarding them when they become inconvenient. We destroyed it, and we called it progress. Was it worth it? Look at the new bridge, sleek, modern, efficient, utterly forgettable. And ask yourself, will anyone mourn this one when it's gone? Will anyone stand on the riverbank and remember the day it was destroyed, the way people still remember the Hulton Bridge, still feel its absence, still wonder why we couldn't have done better?